The archive is now prepared, and the opening ritual begins. Let the candle flicker, the shadows deepen, and the silence embrace you. The knowledge within these pages is not for all, only for those who are ready to listen, to witness the truths that have remained hidden. Proceed carefully. Initiate. What is about to be revealed cannot be undone. This is the law of silent abundance where words are not spoken but felt. Let the journey through darkness begin.
Chapter 1. The Law of the Sealed Lip. The Alchemical Power of Silence. The room is cold. A single candle flickers in the center, casting long, wavering shadows across the stone walls. Its flame dances as though it, too, is caught in a silent struggle. The air is thick with the musty scent of ancient parchment, a smell that seems to come from deep within the earth itself. It is the scent of secrets of things once buried and long forgotten. The silence that surrounds you is palpable, a living thing that presses against your chest, urging you to listen. It was observed by the silent ones that true power is never spoken of. Words, they insisted, are a currency. And like any currency, it can be spent, squandered, or hoarded. To speak of your desires, your ambitions, your will, is to leak the energy that would have otherwise solidified into the form of manifestation. The ancient texts, weathered with age and time, declare this law in no uncertain terms. Silence is the first key to power. The law of the sealed lip demands that you guard your energy, your desires, and your dreams with the utmost care. It is not enough to simply keep them to yourself and thought. No, the silence required here is deeper. It is a silence of action, of restraint, and of the spirit. To speak of your goals, to announce your intentions to the world, is to dilute the potency of your will. The words, once uttered, dissipate like smoke, leaving nothing but the faintest trace in the air. They become powerless, void of the potential they once held. This, however, is not the way of the initiate. The initiate understands that the world is full of noise, a constant chatter that drowns out the whispers of the unseen. They understand that speaking, even in the quietest of moments, creates ripples in the fabric of reality. These ripples are the leakage of power, the subtle draining of energy that could have been used to create the very future they seek. The silent ones, those who have walked this path before, never spoke of their desires. They moved with purpose, their actions speaking louder than any words could. Their wills were like roots deep, hidden, and unshakable, anchored in the soil of silence. There is a truth that the ancient ones knew well. Words shape reality, but silence shapes power. The world is quick to ask, what are your dreams? What is your plan? What will you do? But the wise remain silent. The wise allow the seeds of their intentions to grow in the quiet earth, out of sight, unseen by the untrained eye. Only when the time is right, when the roots are strong and the growth undeniable, will they allow the world to see what has been cultivated. Until then, their lips remain sealed, their power intact. In silence, the initiate becomes like the earth, itself an unseen force, quietly shaping the world around them. The power of the earth does not scream its intentions, nor does it announce its plans. It simply is. It moves, it shifts, and it grows. The world does not see the roots as they dig deeper into the soil, but it sees the tree that eventually reaches toward the sky. The strength of the tree comes not from its outward appearance, but from the unseen foundation beneath. The silence is not passive. It is not the absence of sound, but the active presence of concentration. It is the stillness before the storm, the space where all potential resides. The wise know that in this silence, they are more powerful than they will ever be in the noise of the world. The key is to recognize this power and to respect it. For in this silence, there is the potential to create everything that the world believes it must speak into existence. It is often said that actions speak louder than words, and this, too, holds a truth. However, it is not the action that is important, but the energy behind it. The silent ones understood that action without the proper energy and spoken and unseen was no action at all. It was merely movement, aimless and ineffective. In the silence, the energy behind the action grows, solidifies, and becomes focused. Only when the time is right, when the energy has matured and gathered strength, is it released. It is then that the world sees the power that was born in the dark. The law of silence extends beyond the individual. It speaks to the nature of creation itself. All things begin in the dark, in the unseen. The seed is planted in the soil, buried deep in the earth, where it is nourished and protected from the harsh light of the sun. It is in this darkness that the seed grows, forming roots and preparing to sprout. The seed does not announce itself. It does not seek the attention of the world. It simply grows, in silence, in darkness, until it is ready to break through the surface and greet the light. So too must the initiate act. The seed of your will, once planted, must be allowed to grow in silence. Do not expose it to the harsh light of others' expectations, opinions, or judgments. The light will burn it, wither it, and leave it hollow. Instead, keep your intentions hidden, buried deep within the soil of your being. In this darkness, it will grow strong, its roots deep and firm, its energy unbroken. This is not to say that you should retreat from the world entirely. The initiate moves through the world with purpose, but their purpose is not to announce their arrival. It is to create without being seen. It is to act without the need for recognition. The ancient ones spoke of this as sovereignty, the ability to rule without the need for validation. True power does not require the approval of others. It does not seek the spotlight. It simply is, and in its being, it shapes the world around it. It is also in this silence that one learns to discern between what is worthy of attention and what is not. The world is full of distractions, shiny objects that beg for your focus, noises that pull your attention away from the work at hand. The silent ones understood that not all things deserve your energy, your words, or your time. They knew that to speak of every thought, every desire, and every ambition was to spread oneself thin, to waste the precious energy that could be used for something far greater. In silence, the initiate learns to focus, to direct their energy toward that which truly matters, and to let the rest fall away. The law of the sealed lip is also a law of patience. It is a reminder that not all things are meant to be revealed at once. The ancient ones were patient. They knew that the world is not ready for everything at once. They knew that the true power of manifestation lies not in rushing, but in waiting for the right moment. Just as the seed does not sprout overnight, so too must your will be allowed to grow in its own time. In silence, you wait for the moment when the world is ready to see what you have created. Until then, your lips remain sealed. There is a saying among the silent ones: the world is loud, but the wise remain mute. It is not that the wise have no voice, but rather that they understand the power of restraint. The old texts insist that it is in the quiet moments, in the silence between words, that the greatest strength is found. Words are fleeting, but silence is eternal. It is the space in which all things are born, where all things are possible. The candle flickers once more, its flame a reflection of the silence that holds the world together. The shadows grow longer, and the air grows colder. The room is still, save for the faint rustling of ancient pages turning in the wind. The initiate, now aware of the power of silence, understands that their journey has just begun. They are not yet ready to speak. The will has been planted, and now it must be nurtured in the darkness. The silence will be their guide, their protector, and their strength. In the quiet, they will learn to manifest without speaking, to act without announcing, and to rule without recognition. The law of the sealed lip is not merely a rule to be followed. It is a way of life. It is the foundation upon which all power is built. And in this silence, the initiate will find the true power they seek not in words, but in the quiet, unseen forces that shape the world. The candle flickers again, and then it goes out. The room is dark. The silence is complete. Chapter 2. The Void of Creation. Solitude as a Crucible of Manifestation. The wind howls outside the stone walls, the cold creeping through the cracks like an ancient spirit, uninvited but persistent. Inside, the silence is a heavy cloak, thick with the weight of forgotten knowledge. A single candle flickers on the altar, casting long shadows that stretch and bend as if alive. The air smells faintly of incense, the earthy, smoky scent that lingers like the residue of a prayer never uttered. In this quiet, one feels both small and immense, a soul standing at the edge of the abyss, waiting for something unseen to take form. It is here, in this space, that the old texts speak of the void of creation. The void is not emptiness. It is not the absence of anything. It is the place where all things come to be, where the unseen becomes visible, where potential lies in wait. It is the crucible of creation, a dark, fertile soil in which all things are nurtured before they emerge into the light. The void is where the initiate must retreat to find their true power. It is in solitude, in the deep silence away from the distractions of the world, that the alchemy of manifestation begins. To create, one must first withdraw. The noise of the world, its endless clamor, its demands and expectations, must be shut out. The initiate understands that it is only in the deepest solitude that the soul can hear its true calling, can connect to the unseen forces that govern all things. The ancient ones were known for their retreats, their periods of deep isolation, where they would go into the mountains, the forests, or the caves to be alone with their thoughts, their desires, and their will. They understood that creation does not happen in the busy marketplaces, the crowded streets, or the constant chatter of daily life. No, creation begins in the quiet places, those hidden corners of the world where time stands still, and the only sound is the beating of your own heart. It was observed by the silent ones that in these places, the seeds of creation take root. The mind, free from external influence, can finally focus. In the solitude, the initiate is free to listen not to the noise of others, but to the voice that calls from within. This is the voice that guides the hand, that fuels the fire, that brings form to the formless. The void of creation is not a place of doing, but of becoming. It is in this space that the initiate is transformed, where the raw energy of their will is shaped into something tangible. But this transformation is not without its challenges. The void is not a gentle place. It is not a place for comfort or for ease. To enter the void is to enter the unknown, to face the darkness within yourself. The old texts warn that the void is a mirror one that reflects not the image you wish to see, but the truth you are reluctant to face. It shows you your weaknesses, your fears, your doubts. It strips you bare, leaving you vulnerable and exposed. It is in this vulnerability that the greatest power is forged. The ancient ones knew this well. They understood that the darkness, though uncomfortable, is where strength is born. It is in the void that the initiate learns to confront their inner demons, to transmute their weaknesses into strength. The void is the place where the old self dies, making way for the new. The power that is forged here is not the power of the ego or the will alone, but the power of the soul, the unshakable force that arises from the depths of silence and solitude. The first step in the journey through the void is to embrace it, to enter the darkness willingly, without hesitation. The initiate must learn to be still, to let go of the need to control, to resist the urge to fill the silence with thoughts, words, or actions. It is in the stillness that the alchemy of creation begins. The mind, free from distraction, can finally focus its energy. And in that focus, the world begins to shift. It was observed by the silent ones that the void is not a place of inactivity. It is not a place of waiting for things to happen. No, the void is where the seed is planted, where the foundation is laid. It is a place of deep, internal work, where the initiate shapes their will into a clear vision, a singular intention. This vision is not born in the noise of the world, but in the silence of the soul. The void is also where the initiate learns patience. Creation does not happen overnight. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It takes time for the energy to gather, for the intentions to crystallize, for the manifestation to take form. In the void, the initiate is forced to sit with their desires, to let them ripen in the darkness. The world outside may rush, but the initiate knows that the work they do in solitude is more important than anything the world can offer. The old texts speak of the void as a place of potential where nothing yet exists, but everything is possible. In this space, the initiate can create without limitation, without the constraints of the physical world. The void is not bound by time, space, or material reality. It is a realm of pure possibility, where the only limitation is the imagination. Here, the initiate is free to dream, to envision the future as it could be, not as it is. But it is not enough to simply dream. The power of the void lies in the initiate's ability to channel their energy, their will, into their vision. It is not enough to wish for something to come into being. The void is not a place for idle fantasy. It is a place for active creation. The initiate must focus their energy with unwavering intention, shaping the raw potential of the void into a tangible reality. The ancient ones knew this well. They spoke of the alchemy of creation, not the kind of alchemy that turns lead into gold, but the kind that turns thought into matter. The true alchemist does not wait for the world to change. They shape the world with the force of their will. They enter the void and, with every thought, every breath, every heartbeat, they pour their energy into their creation. They do not rush. They allow the process to unfold in its own time. And when the time is right, when the energy has gathered enough strength, the creation emerges from the void fully formed, solidified, and ready to be manifested in the physical world. In this way, the void is both the beginning and the end. It is the space in which all things are born, and it is the space in which all things return. The initiate must understand that the void is not a place to escape from the world, but a place to connect to the deeper currents of creation. It is where the soul touches the infinite, where the unseen forces of the universe are channeled into form. To the initiate, the void is a sanctuary, a refuge from the distractions of the world. It is a place where they can retreat to listen to the voice of their soul, to align with their true purpose. It is a place where they can shed the false identities and external influences that bind them, and reconnect with the essence of who they truly are. In the void, they are free to create without limitations, to manifest without the constraints of the material world. The candle flickers again, the shadows stretching and bending in the dim light. The wind outside howls, but inside, there is only stillness. The room is empty, save for the initiate and their thoughts. The silence presses in, heavy and thick, like the weight of the universe itself. In this silence, the initiate knows the truth of the void. It is not a place of emptiness, but of infinite possibility. It is not a place of waiting, but of becoming. The alchemy of creation begins here, in the dark, fertile soil of the soul. It is here that the initiate is transformed, where their will is solidified, where their desires take form. The void is not a place to fear. It is a place to embrace. It is the crucible in which the raw materials of your desires are forged into something real. It is where the unseen becomes visible, where the formless becomes form. And it is here, in the deep silence of the void, that your power is born. Chapter 3. Transmuting Envy, the shadow fuel for your ascendancy. The candle burns low, its wax dripping slowly down the sides of the holder, pooling in a thick layer beneath. The air, though still, carries an undertone of tension, as if something ancient stirs within the walls of this silent chamber. Outside, the night presses close, the darkened world resting in the hollow silence before dawn. It is in these moments, when the world feels suspended between light and dark, that the initiate must turn inward, to face the shadows that seek to disrupt their peace. The shadow that lurks within the hearts of most souls is envy. It is a persistent, gnawing force that rises in the wake of other successes, accomplishments, or perceived victories. It is a poison that infects the spirit, distorting one's perception and breeding discontent. Yet, in the hidden laws of manifestation, envy is not to be feared, nor is it to be rejected. The silent ones understood this truth well. Envy, if transmuted correctly, could become the most potent fuel for one's own ascension. The old texts insist that the alchemical process of transmutation begins when the initiate recognizes envy not as a weakness, but as raw energy of force that, if directed properly, can propel one forward with unimaginable power. The silent ones did not shy away from envy, they welcomed it. For in every feeling of jealousy, there lies a hidden current, a wellspring of untapped strength. The initiate must learn to extract this energy, purify it, and use it to further their own ascent. It was observed by the silent ones that envy, in its most primal form, arises when one sees another possessing something they themselves desire. This desire could take many forms: wealth, love, success, or recognition. When another ascends, and one is left in the shadows of their own perceived inadequacy, the ego recoils. This is the moment when envy takes root. But the key to transmutation lies not in rejecting the feeling, but in understanding it. The ancient ones spoke of envy as a reflection, a mirror that reveals to the initiate what they truly seek, what is lacking in their own life, and what remains unexpressed within their soul. To reject envy is to reject the lesson it offers. Envy does not only arise from a lack of what another possesses, it arises from a lack within oneself. The initiate must, therefore, see envy as a doorway, not to weakness, but to transformation. The very fact that one feels envious is proof that there is something within them, something dormant, that longs to awaken. In this way, envy becomes a signal, a call to action, urging the initiate to move toward their own potential. When the initiate feels envy rise, it is not a moment for self-flagellation or guilt, it is a moment for power. The silent ones did not let envy weaken them, they harnessed it. They used it as a mirror to see what they truly desired, and then turned that desire into action. Envy is an invitation to grow, to act, and to transform. It is the energy of desire, and desire, when channeled, can create the future one envisions. To transmute envy, the initiate must first accept that it is a natural part of the human experience. It is not a mark of inferiority, but a reflection of the soul's hunger. When you see another person rise to a position you covet, the feeling that arises is not a judgment of your own worth, but a recognition of your unfulfilled potential. The silent ones did not seek to bury this feeling, but rather to use it as a tool of personal alchemy. They understood that the energy contained in envy is potent enough to drive one toward greatness if it is properly guided. The process of transmutation begins when the initiate shifts their focus from the other to themselves. The old texts speak of a simple yet profound shift in perception, from jealousy to admiration. Instead of seeing the success of others as a threat or a reflection of one's inadequacy, the initiate must see it as a confirmation of possibility. If it can be done, then it can be done by me. This is the seed of transformation, the moment when envy is no longer a corrosive force, but a driving force. In the depths of envy lies a reflection of your own unacknowledged desires, and the initiate must not shy away from this reflection. The silent ones did not allow envy to become a cause of bitterness or resentment. They allowed it to show them the path forward. When they felt envy toward another, they did not allow it to fester into hatred. Instead, they asked themselves, what is it that I truly desire? What is it about their success that calls to me? The shift from envy to action is a subtle one, but it is a shift that changes everything. It requires the initiate to stop seeing themselves as a victim of circumstance and start seeing themselves as a creator of their own destiny. The moment envy arises, the initiate must turn inward, examining the feeling, understanding its source, and then using it as fuel for their own transformation. It is in this quiet moment that the alchemy takes place. The raw energy of envy is transmuted into focused, directed action. The process is not immediate. The old texts are clear on this point. Transmutation is a slow, steady process, and it requires patience. The energy of envy must first be allowed to settle before it can be channeled. The initiate must enter the void of creation, where the raw emotion is allowed to settle and crystallize into something more refined. It is in this space of silence, of internal stillness, that the energy of envy is purified. Like lead turned into gold, envy must be subjected to the fire of the soul before it can become something worthy of manifestation. The power of transmuted envy is quiet, like the force of a river flowing beneath the earth, unseen yet unstoppable. Once transformed, the energy of envy propels the initiate toward their goals with a relentless focus, a drive that is born not of lack, but of potential. The silent ones knew that the greatest power lies not in avoiding negative emotions, but in transmuting them into something greater. Envy, like all emotions, is a force, and forces, when properly harnessed, can change the world. But the initiate must also guard against becoming consumed by envy. The silent ones spoke of the danger of allowing envy to become an obsession. When envy begins to shape one's actions, when it begins to overshadow the soul's true purpose, it becomes toxic. The key to transmutation lies in maintaining balance and allowing envy to fuel action without becoming the action itself. The initiate must never forget the true nature of their desire, to create, to manifest, and to ascend, not to destroy, to compete, or to be consumed by the shadows of another's light. The old texts offer this final counsel: let envy be the ember, but let it not become the fire. It is not the feeling of envy that is dangerous, but the failure to transmute it. Envy, when left unchecked, can burn the initiate from within, turning their focus outward rather than inward. But when transmuted, envy becomes the spark that ignites the fire of creation. It drives the initiate forward, propelling them toward their destiny with the relentless energy of a force untamed. The candle, flickering in the cold, is now nearly extinguished, its light casting long shadows against the walls. The night presses close, the world outside silent and still. In this silence, the initiate understands the truth of the shadow, that envy, once transmuted, is no longer a force that drags them down, but one that pushes them upward. The journey has only just begun. In the quiet depths of the soul, the initiate has learned to transform the poison of envy into the elixir of creation. And now, with the fire of transmutation burning within them, they are ready to rise. Chapter 4. The Invisible King, Queen, Sovereignty before Recognition. The silence in the room deepens as the flame flickers, casting a faint glow against the cold stone walls. The night outside seems endless, as if the very universe holds its breath in anticipation. The air is thick with the weight of a secret, a truth that only those who dare enter the shadowed realms of power can understand. The silence is no longer merely an absence of sound. It is a presence, a force that permeates the very space around you, pressing upon you with the gravity of forgotten truths. In this silence, the initiate must come to understand a law older than time itself, the law of the invisible king or queen. Sovereignty, true power, does not announce itself. It does not demand recognition. It is a silent force, moving through the world undetected, shaping reality without the need for applause or praise. The ancient texts speak of a power that is unshaken by external circumstances, one that does not seek validation from the world, but instead creates from the depths of its own being. The silent ones understood that true authority is not earned through public recognition or the approval of others. It is not the title or position that bestows power, but the internal certainty of one's own sovereignty. The invisible king or queen walks in the world, but is not seen by it. They act with authority long before anyone else has acknowledged it. For their power is not dependent on external validation. It is rooted in the deep, unwavering conviction of their own worth. It was observed by the silent ones that the world is filled with the desperate cries for recognition, the ceaseless struggle for validation. In every corner, souls seek approval, trying to prove their worth to others, to show that they matter. Yet, the silent ones knew the truth. To seek recognition is to lose power. The moment one looks to the outside world for validation, they are no longer in control. They are subject to the whims and judgments of others, their sovereignty reduced to the opinions of those around them. The invisible king or queen, however, does not look to the world for approval. Their power lies in the certainty of their own existence, in the knowledge that they are enough without the need for anyone else to acknowledge it. They do not need to prove themselves, for they already know who they are. They do not need to declare their intentions to the world, for their actions speak louder than any words ever could. The world may not see them as they truly are, but they do not need to be seen. Their sovereignty is not dependent on the recognition of others. It is intrinsic, built from within. The initiate must learn to cultivate this internal sovereignty. The world is full of distractions, shiny objects that call for attention, voices that demand to be heard, opinions that beg to be validated. But the wise know that none of this matters. The silent ones spoke of a power that rises from the depths of the soul, untouched by the noise of the world. It is a quiet power, one that is not seen by the majority, but one that shapes the world nonetheless. The invisible king or queen does not strive for power, they embody it. To be sovereign is to act with certainty, to move through the world as though the very fabric of reality bends to your will. It is to know that your existence is enough, that you do not need to be seen or recognized to make your mark. The world may not see your greatness, but you do not need them to. Your actions, your decisions, and your energy are enough to shape the world in your image. The ancient ones spoke of the power that comes from acting as though you already possess what you seek. The invisible king or queen does not wait for others to give them permission. They act as though the world is already theirs. They do not hesitate, for they know that hesitation is the mark of doubt. They do not second-guess themselves, for they know that certainty is the key to manifestation. The world may not see their authority, but it does not matter. Their inner certainty is what gives them the power to shape the world around them. The key to the invisible king's or queen's power is not in force or domination. It is in quiet authority, the kind that comes from acting with purpose and intention. The initiate must learn to move through the world with this quiet authority, acting as though they already have what they desire, even before the world acknowledges it. In this way, they create a reality that reflects their inner certainty. It was observed by the silent ones that power is not something that is given to you by the world. It is something you take from it. The world may try to deny you, may try to make you small, but the true sovereign knows that their power is not subject to the world's judgments. They know that their power is theirs to command, and that it is not dependent on anyone else's approval. The invisible king or queen does not fight for recognition. They simply exist with unwavering authority, and the world eventually bends to them. The initiate must learn to step into their sovereignty with confidence, to act as though they are already the ruler of their own domain. This does not mean seeking to control others or manipulate situations. It means acting with the quiet confidence that your desires will manifest without force. The silent ones spoke of a power that does not require loud declarations, for it is the subtle force that moves through the world, shaping it without being seen. True sovereignty is not about dominating others. It is about creating your own reality, one where your will is the only force that matters. The invisible king or queen does not seek to control others. They seek only to control themselves, to act in alignment with their true desires, and to create a world that reflects their inner certainty. The world may resist, but it cannot deny the quiet power of one who moves with such conviction. To embody the law of the invisible king or queen, the initiate must first release the need for external validation. They must stop seeking approval from others, stop waiting for permission to act. The world will not hand you power. It will only give you the opportunity to claim it. But the opportunity is always there, waiting for those who are ready to step into their sovereignty, to act with certainty and without hesitation. The ancient ones spoke of sovereignty as a state of being, not a state of doing. It is not the crown that makes the king, nor the title that makes the queen. Sovereignty comes from within. It is the internal knowledge that you are enough, that your desires are worthy, and that you do not need the world to acknowledge your power for it to exist. The invisible king or queen is not concerned with the opinions of others, for their power is self-contained, self-sustaining, and unwavering. The initiate must come to understand that true power is quiet. It is not loud and brash, demanding attention. It is subtle, like the roots of an ancient tree, growing deep into the earth, unseen by the world above. The tree does not shout to be seen, it simply grows, and the world must eventually recognize its strength. So too must the initiate grow in silence, cultivating their power in the shadows, knowing that recognition will come when it is meant to. The world may not see the invisible king or queen as they truly are, but this matters not. Their sovereignty does not depend on the world's recognition. It is enough that they know their worth, that they move through the world with quiet authority, knowing that their desires are already manifesting. The world will eventually catch up to them. The candle flickers, casting a final shadow on the stone walls before it dies. The room is dark, and the silence stretches out before you, infinite and complete. In this silence, you are reminded of the truth that power does not come from others. It comes from within. The invisible king or queen rules not because they are seen, but because they know that they are worthy of ruling, even before anyone else acknowledges it. And in this knowing, they shape the world in their image. The initiate is ready. The time has come to walk in silence, to act with sovereignty, and to create a reality that reflects the inner power of the self. The world may not see it, but the power is already there, quietly waiting to be unleashed. Chapter 5. The Hidden Roots, the Secret Place of Growth. The candlelight trembles, its flame flickering as if caught between realms, casting shadows that dance like whispers of forgotten truths. The room is silent, save for the distant murmur of the wind, sighing through cracks in the walls. There is a strange stillness in the air, the kind that fills every corner of the room with a heavy anticipation, as if the very walls themselves are aware that a great secret is about to be unveiled. In this silence, the initiate must learn to understand the deepest of truths, the truth of the hidden roots, the silent place where all growth begins. It was observed by the silent ones that the greatest power lies not in what is visible, but in what remains unseen. The true force of life is like the roots of an ancient tree, buried deep beneath the surface, hidden from the world above. The tree's strength comes not from the leaves that sway in the wind or the branches that reach for the sky, but from the unseen foundation that holds it firm against the storms. It is the hidden roots that nourish the tree, that allow it to stand tall and strong, even in the fiercest of winds. So too is it with the initiate. The world is quick to praise the outward manifestations of success, the achievements that are visible to all. But the true strength of the initiate lies not in the accomplishments that others can see, but in the silent work done in secret, in the hidden roots of growth. The initiate must understand that the work of creation, the work of transformation, is always done in the shadows, in the unseen places where the world cannot reach. The silent ones spoke of the importance of cultivating this secret place of growth, the place where the soul's true desires are nurtured and shaped. The world may not see this growth, and the initiate may not even feel it in the moment, but the roots are growing nonetheless. The process of creation is not always immediate, it is not always visible, but the initiate must trust that, beneath the surface, everything is being transformed. In the hidden roots, there is a deep, quiet nourishment. It is here that the initiate learns to draw sustenance from the earth of their own being. The external world can be full of distractions, voices that demand attention, opinions that seek to pull the soul in every direction. But the true power of growth is found when the initiate retreats from the noise and focuses inward, where the true work takes place. Just as a tree does not ask for the sunlight to shine upon its roots, the initiate must learn to find nourishment in the silence, in the stillness, and in the unseen places. The hidden roots are where the soul's deepest desires are planted, where the seeds of intention take root and begin to grow. These roots are not always visible, and the world may never see them, but they are the foundation of everything that will come into being. The initiate must learn to cultivate these roots, to tend to them with care, knowing that the outward manifestations of their desires will one day rise from this silent place of growth. It was observed by the silent ones that the roots are nourished not by the praise of the world, but by the quiet, consistent work done in solitude. The roots grow best when they are left undisturbed, when the initiate allows the work to unfold in its own time, without rushing or forcing it. The roots of a tree do not hurry to grow, they simply grow, slowly and steadily, in the darkness beneath the earth. So too must the initiate allow their desires to grow in silence, to be nurtured in secret, knowing that the time will come when they will emerge into the light. The initiate must also understand that not all roots are visible at first. Just as a tree's roots spread silently beneath the soil before any leaves appear, so too does the initiate's growth begin in the unseen places. The world may not see the work that is being done, but that does not mean it is not happening. In fact, it is often in these hidden places, in the quiet solitude, that the most profound transformations occur. The roots are the foundation of all creation. They are where the raw energy of the soul is gathered, where the seeds of intention are planted and nurtured. The initiate must learn to trust in this process, to trust that the work being done in the hidden spaces is as valuable as the outward manifestations of success. The roots are the silent workers, the ones that do the real labor of creation. They are the unsung heroes of growth, the ones that make everything else possible. To cultivate the hidden roots, the initiate must learn to retreat from the world, to enter the darkness of solitude and silence. The world will try to pull you out of this space, to convince you that you must be seen, that you must be heard, that you must prove your worth to others. But the silent ones knew that true power lies in the quiet places, in the work done when no one is watching. The roots grow best in the dark, unseen, away from the gaze of the world. It is in these silent moments that the initiate learns to align with the forces of the universe, to draw nourishment from the deep wells of their own soul. The hidden roots are where the initiate's desires are grounded, where they become part of the very fabric of their being. The world may never see these roots, but they are the foundation of all that will come. The initiate must trust that, in time, their desires will sprout and grow, reaching for the light, but only after they have been nourished in the dark. The work done in the hidden roots is not always glamorous. It is often quiet, slow, and unseen. But it is also the most important work. Just as a tree does not receive its strength from the leaves that fall, but from the roots that anchor it to the earth, so too must the initiate understand that true power comes from the unseen work, the quiet moments of reflection, growth, and nurturing. In the stillness, the roots grow. They stretch deeper into the earth, drawing from the soil of the soul, gathering strength and energy that will later manifest in the outer world. But the initiate must not rush this process. The world may demand instant results, but the silent ones understood that true growth takes time. The roots must be allowed to spread quietly beneath the surface, unnoticed and unappreciated, until they are strong enough to support the great tree that will one day rise above. The ancient texts tell us that all true creation begins in silence. It is in the hidden places that the deepest work is done. The initiate must learn to honor these hidden roots, to cultivate them with patience, care, and respect. It is in the silence, in the unseen work, that the greatest transformations take place. And it is from these hidden roots that all true power arises. As the candle flickers, its light casting long shadows on the stone walls, the initiate is reminded that their growth, their true power, is rooted in the silent, unseen places. It is in these quiet moments that the soul's deepest desires are nurtured, transformed, and brought into being. The roots are the foundation, the beginning of all that will come. And in the hidden spaces, the initiate's true power is born. Chapter 6. The Alchemy of Energy, Multiplication, Silent Circulation of Power. The air is dense, filled with an unspoken weight that presses against you like the earth itself. The single candle, though dim, flickers with an unwavering intensity, as if seeking to illuminate the truth hidden within the shadows. The scent of incense still clings to the room, thickening the air, grounding your senses in the present moment. It is here, in this sacred silence, that the initiate is called to discover a fundamental law, the alchemy of energy multiplication, the silent circulation of power. The old texts speak of energy not as a static force but as a living, breathing current, one that flows through every being, every thought, and every action. It is a force that can be both spent and conserved, given and received, but its true power is not in accumulation, but in circulation. Just as the earth's energy circulates through its veins of water, roots, and wind, so too does the initiate's power multiply through the subtle and silent exchange of energy, without ever being wasted or drained. It was observed by the silent ones that the most powerful forces in the universe do not hoard their energy. Instead, they circulate it quietly, constantly, and without fanfare. The invisible currents of energy, like a hidden river beneath the surface, flow in unseen paths, touching everything while remaining undisturbed by the world above. In silence, the energy of the universe is given and received, exchanged without effort, multiplied through the very act of being. The alchemy of energy multiplication, then, is the art of circulating power in ways that the world cannot see or measure. The silent ones did not hoard their energy, nor did they allow it to be depleted in the course of their work. Instead, they understood that true power lies in the ability to circulate energy, allowing it to flow, to move, and to multiply. This circulation of energy is not just a passive act, but an active process, one that demands discipline and understanding. The initiate must learn to recognize this flow within themselves. Every thought, every action, every word is an exchange of energy. The more energy you give to the world, the more it returns to you. Not necessarily in the form you expect, but in the form that best serves your growth. The silent ones understood that they did not need to cling to their power, for by circulating it, They multiplied it. They gave to the world what they could, and the world, in turn, gave back. But the key was in the silent circulation of energy that moved undisturbed, never demanding attention, never seeking to be acknowledged. This principle of silent circulation is rooted in the concept of trust. The initiate must trust that the energy they give will return, not in the way they expect, but in the form that is most beneficial to their soul's growth. The silent ones did not labor in the world with the expectation of immediate rewards. They did not perform acts of kindness or generosity to gain favor or recognition. No, they gave and received with grace, knowing that in the silence of their actions, their energy would multiply and their power would grow. Energy, like water, cannot be contained. It moves, it flows, and it finds its own path. The initiate must learn to allow their energy to flow freely, unimpeded by the need to control or restrict it. By allowing their energy to circulate, they create a current that not only nourishes themselves, but also nourishes those around them. The energy that flows through the initiate will pass into the world, touching the lives of others in ways that cannot be predicted or measured. It is this silent flow that multiplies the initiate's power. The old texts are clear on this point. Energy cannot be hoarded. Hoarding energy is a sign of fear, of attachment. It is the act of trying to control something that cannot be controlled. The silent ones did not fear losing their power. They understood that true power is in the flow, not the accumulation. They gave freely, and in doing so, their energy multiplied beyond measure. The alchemy of energy multiplication also speaks to the balance between giving and receiving. The initiate must understand that they cannot give endlessly without receiving in return. This is not about transactional exchanges or seeking rewards, but about creating a harmonious flow of energy. Just as the earth gives of its resources, its rain, its soil, its air, it also receives energy in the form of the sun, the moon, and the stars. This balance between giving and receiving is what allows the initiate to stay grounded in their power, to remain centered, and to avoid burnout. It was observed by the silent ones that those who give too much without receiving are like a well that runs dry, their energy depleted, their power drained. The initiate must understand that receiving is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. By allowing energy to flow through them, both given and received, they maintain the balance necessary for true power. The key is in the silence, the silent understanding that energy is not something to possess, but something to circulate, something to allow to pass through you. The practice of silent circulation also involves a deep understanding of intention. The silent ones spoke of the importance of intention behind every action, for intention is the force that directs the flow of energy. When the initiate acts with a clear, focused intention, the energy they release moves in a specific direction, multiplying as it circulates. But when the intention is scattered or unclear, the energy becomes diluted, unable to find its proper course. The initiate must learn to cultivate this focused intention, to channel their energy into specific desires without forcing or controlling the outcome. The process is one of surrender, allowing the energy to move without resistance, to flow freely, while maintaining clarity of purpose. This balance between surrender and intention is what allows the initiate to amplify their power, to multiply their energy without depleting themselves. The alchemy of energy multiplication also speaks to the idea of subtlety. The most powerful currents are those that move beneath the surface, unseen by the world, undisturbed by the noise of the outside world. The silent ones understood that power is not always loud or visible. In fact, the most potent energy is often the one that moves quietly, in the shadows, behind the scenes. The initiate must learn to move in this way, acting with purpose and intention, but never seeking the spotlight. Power, when circulated silently, multiplies in ways that cannot be anticipated, touching everything in its path. It is also in the silent circulation of energy that the initiate becomes aligned with the larger currents of the universe. Just as a river finds its course, so too does the initiate find their path when they surrender to the flow of energy. The world may try to impose its will, to direct the flow in a particular direction, but the silent one knows that the true power lies in moving with the current, not against it. By circulating energy without resistance, the initiate aligns themselves with the universal forces at play, multiplying their power without ever forcing it. In the stillness, the room seems to expand, the air thick with the invisible forces that move within it. The energy circulates, flowing silently, moving through every corner, every crack in the walls, touching everything and nothing at once. The initiate understands that this is the nature of true power, the quiet circulation of energy, given and received, multiplied and amplified, moving with the flow of the universe. The silent ones, those who knew the art of circulating energy, did not seek to accumulate wealth, fame, or recognition. They did not hoard their power, nor did they fear losing it. They knew that true power lies not in possession but in circulation, in the quiet, invisible movement of energy, always flowing, always growing. This is the alchemy of energy multiplication. And in this silent circulation, the initiate finds their strength, their purpose, and their power, amplified in ways the world cannot see, but will inevitably feel. As the candle burns lower, its light flickering in the silence, the initiate feels the truth of the lesson settled deep within. Energy, like life itself, must flow. The more it flows, the more it multiplies. The silent circulation of power is the key to true mastery, and in this quiet act, the initiate aligns themselves with the very forces of creation. The alchemy of energy multiplication is not about control, it is about surrendering to the flow and trusting that the energy will return, multiplied, in ways both seen and unseen. And in this trust, the initiate's power grows. Chapter 7. The Alchemy of Energy Multiplication, Protection from Doubt. The candle's flame dances, the light flickering as though caught between realms, uncertain yet determined. Shadows stretch and recede across the room, revealing and hiding the ancient stone walls that have stood for centuries, their surface worn by time but unbroken. The air in this quiet sanctuary is thick with the weight of an unspoken truth, a subtle tension that seems to fill every corner of the space. Outside, the wind whispers against the walls, a reminder of the forces that churn beyond this place of stillness. Yet, within, there is only silence, quiet, powerful, and unyielding. In this silence, the initiate must come to understand the greatest protector of all, the quiet shield that lies not in the external world, but within. This is the secret power of protection from doubt. The shadow of doubt is perhaps the most insidious force in the human experience. It is not a loud enemy, but a quiet, persistent whisper that seeks to undermine everything you have worked for. It creeps in, unnoticed, slipping into your thoughts and pulling your energy in every direction, draining you of focus and clarity. And in this moment of silence, the initiate is called to face this enemy, head-on, not with force, but with the silent protection of an unwavering will. The ancient ones spoke of the power of doubt not as something to be feared, but as something to be understood. Doubt, they knew, is not a sign of weakness. It is the final test of your strength. It is the space between intention and manifestation, the moment when the seed of desire has been planted in the soil, and the world tests whether it will grow. Doubt is the dark soil where growth begins, the very ground that nourishes the seed. But it is also the soil where the seed can wither if it is not protected. The silent ones understood that doubt must be faced, not by pushing it away, but by shielding the seed of intention from its corrosive influence. They knew that doubt, though it may seem overwhelming, is ultimately a turbulent, invisible force that can either drain your energy or become the catalyst for even greater strength. The key lies not in resisting doubt, but in protecting the fragile seed of creation from it, allowing it to grow without being consumed by fear. It was observed by the silent ones that the moment doubt enters the mind, it seeks to scatter your energy. Doubt is a thief, a silent force that steals your focus and spreads your power thin. It fills your mind with questions, with what-ifs, and pulls your attention away from the work at hand. In the face of doubt, the initiate must learn to create a silent shield, a protective barrier that guards the seed of their desires from the intrusive whispers of uncertainty. This shield is not built with force or resistance. It is built with trust. To shield oneself from doubt, the initiate must cultivate an unwavering belief in the power of their own will. The silent ones knew that doubt cannot touch what is firmly grounded in belief. When you are certain of your path, When you know, with every fiber of your being, that your desires are valid, doubt has no power over you. It may still come, as it always does, but it will pass over you, like wind over stone, unable to take root. The protection from doubt lies in the firm conviction that your desires are worthy of manifestation, and that the forces of the universe are aligned with your intention. The old texts are clear. The greatest protection against doubt is not the rejection of doubt, but the cultivation of certainty. To stand unwavering in the face of doubt is to embody the certainty that your desires will manifest, regardless of the external circumstances. Doubt may arise, but it is not the end. It is merely the test of your inner strength. The initiate must learn to stand firm in the face of doubt, to hold their ground with quiet resolve, knowing that what they seek is already on its way to them. The silent ones did not seek to eliminate doubt. They understood that doubt is an inevitable part of the human experience. Instead, they learned to use doubt as a tool, a catalyst for strengthening their resolve. The more doubt they encountered, the stronger their belief became. The more the world questioned their intentions, the more they turned inward and drew from the well of their own certainty. In this way, doubt becomes the forge in which the initiate's will is tempered, a crucible where the fragile seed of desire is protected from the winds of uncertainty. It was in the silent moments of doubt that the greatest protection was formed. The initiate must learn to retreat into the silence of their own soul, to shield their intentions from the noise of the world. The world will always seek to impose its doubts, its fears, and its judgments upon you. But the initiate knows that these are merely distractions. They must learn to close the door to these external influences, retreating into the quiet sanctuary of their own belief. Protection from doubt is not just a mental exercise, it's a practice of aligning the mind, body, and soul with the truth of your desire. The silent ones spoke of the importance of aligning every thought, every action, every word with the intention of your creation. Doubt arises when there is misalignment, when the mind sends out conflicting signals to the universe. To protect yourself from doubt, you must ensure that every aspect of your being is in harmony with the desires you seek to manifest. The old texts advise the initiate to seek moments of deep solitude, where the mind can be quieted and the soul can find its true purpose. In the stillness of solitude, the initiate can reconnect with their inner strength, reinforcing their belief in the power of their intentions. It is in these moments of deep connection with the self that the initiate's shield against doubt is formed. The silence is not an absence, it is a presence, a force that protects the seed of creation from being uprooted by fear. The more the initiate aligns with their true desires, the stronger their protection from doubt becomes. The silent ones understood that doubt is not the enemy, it is simply a test. The enemy lies in the failure to trust in the power of your own will. When the initiate aligns with their desires, when they trust in the power of their own intentions, doubt becomes insignificant. It is merely a shadow passing through, unable to touch the heart of the initiate's purpose. There is a power in quiet resolve. The initiate must learn to walk through the world with the silent confidence of one who knows that their desires are inevitable, regardless of the obstacles that may arise. The silent ones did not ask for the world's approval. They simply knew that what they sought was theirs. Their belief was their shield, their certainty their sword. In the presence of doubt, the initiate must breathe deeply, allowing the air to settle in their lungs, filling their body with quiet strength. They must feel the force of their own being, their own will, rising from deep within. This force is the shield of protection that wards off doubt and strengthens the seed of creation. In this silence, the initiate understands that they are enough, that their desires are valid, and that the world will bend to the quiet force of their will. As the candle's light dims and the shadows grow long, the initiate is reminded of the truth that lies in the silence. Doubt is not the enemy, it is the test of strength. The true enemy is the failure to believe in the power of your own will. And in this silence, the initiate learns that the protection from doubt lies not in resistance, but in the unwavering certainty that their desires will manifest. When you stand firm in your belief, when you trust in the silent power of your will, doubt cannot touch you. It may try, but it will not succeed. The room is still, and the silence is profound. The wind outside no longer matters. In this silence, the initiate is protected. The doubts that once threatened to undo them are now mere whispers, passing unnoticed. And in this silence, they understand the greatest truth of all. In belief, there is no room for doubt. And in the quiet sanctuary of their own will, they will continue to grow, continue to create, continue to manifest their desires, unshaken, unyielding, and certain. Chapter 8. The Invisible Path of Daily Rituals. The quiet steps of manifestation. The air in the room is thick with the stillness of ancient knowledge, the silence reverberating off the cold stone walls. The candle flickers once more, casting fleeting shadows that seem to move with purpose, as though they too carry secrets long buried in the folds of time. The scent of incense is no longer just a fragrance. It is the scent of intention, of focus, of every soul who has walked this path before, weaving their energy into the very air around you. The silence here is sacred. It holds within it the power to transform, to manifest, and to shape the future with quiet steps. It is in this silence that the initiate must come to understand the importance of the invisible path of daily rituals, the quiet, deliberate acts that form the very foundation of creation. The silent ones knew that manifestation does not occur in grand gestures or sudden bursts of energy. It is the quiet, consistent effort, the repetition of small, purposeful actions that builds the path to desired outcomes. These rituals, though invisible to the world, form the bedrock of every success, every achievement, and every manifestation. The ancient texts are clear. Creation is a process, and that process is formed through ritual. Rituals, in their simplest form, are the acts we perform every day with intention, with focus, and with a deep, silent understanding of their power. They are not actions that seek immediate recognition or results. They are the quiet steps that move you toward your desired state, day after day, in the silence of your own being. It was observed by the silent ones that the greatest power in the universe lies not in the dramatic moments of success, but in the moments that lead up to them, those quiet, unseen steps that are repeated in the solitude of the soul. These are the moments when no one is watching, when there is no applause, no recognition. It is in these moments that the foundation of your manifestation is built. And it is these invisible, daily rituals that, over time, weave together to create the reality you seek. The first step in walking the invisible path of daily rituals is to understand that every action, no matter how small, is an act of creation. The world may not see the effort you put into your rituals, but the energy you direct toward them is never wasted. Just as the roots of a tree grow silently beneath the soil, so too does every ritual, no matter how seemingly insignificant, nourish the seed of your desires. The silent ones knew that the process of creation begins with these small, consistent acts, each one adding a layer of strength and intention to the foundation of your manifestation. The initiate must begin by identifying the rituals that resonate most deeply within them. These are the actions that connect them to their true purpose, to their inner will. They are the rituals that, when performed, align the initiate with the forces of the universe, sending their energy in the direction of their desires. The key is not in the complexity of the ritual, but in the consistency and intention behind it. Whether it is the act of lighting a candle at dawn, the quiet moment of meditation before the start of the day, or the simple act of writing down a desire with the knowledge that it will manifest, each ritual holds power when performed with awareness and focus. The old texts emphasize that rituals are not mere habits. They are sacred acts that connect the initiate to their own power. They are the invisible threads that bind the physical world to the metaphysical one, creating a channel through which energy flows. It is through these rituals that the initiate begins to create their reality. The world may not see the rituals, they may not recognize the quiet moments of focus and intention, but the forces of the universe see them. And in time, the energy of those rituals will bear fruit, manifesting in ways that the initiate could never have anticipated. The initiate must also understand that rituals are not about immediate results. They are about the consistent alignment of energy over time. The silent ones spoke of the importance of patience in the process of manifestation. Just as the earth does not rush the growth of a seed, The initiate must allow their rituals to unfold in their own time. Each day, each ritual is a small, silent act of creation, and each act moves you closer to your desired outcome. But the world, in its impatience, often seeks immediate rewards. The initiate must resist this impulse and trust in the quiet power of their rituals. One of the most profound teachings of the Silent Ones is that ritual is not simply an act of doing, it is an act of being. In every ritual, the initiate must embody the state of mind, the energy, and the intention they wish to manifest. This is not about the external actions, but about aligning your internal world with your external reality. The quiet, deliberate acts of ritual serve as reminders to the universe of the state you wish to create. In this way, every ritual, no matter how mundane it may seem, becomes an act of manifestation. It is a powerful reminder that creation begins within. The Silent Ones also understood that rituals, while deeply personal, are not isolated from the world around them. In fact, the more the initiate aligns with the natural rhythms of the world, the more power their rituals hold. Rituals, when aligned with the cycles of nature, the phases of the moon, the rising and setting of the sun, the changing of the seasons, carry an energy that resonates with the deeper forces of the universe. The initiate must learn to listen to these rhythms, to attune themselves to the world's natural flow, and to perform their rituals in alignment with it. For example, the ritual of reflection, of going inward to review your desires, intentions, and actions, can be aligned with the dark of the moon, a time of rest and renewal, or the act of planting, of setting intentions for the future, can be aligned with the full moon, when energy is high and the forces of the universe are primed for manifestation. These are not just symbolic acts. They are powerful practices that connect the initiate to the primal forces of creation itself. In addition to their alignment with nature, rituals also connect the initiate to the lineage of those who have come before. The Silent Ones spoke of the power of ancestral wisdom, the knowledge passed down through generations, hidden in the silence of those who walked before. Every ritual performed by the initiate is a continuation of this ancient thread of creation, a silent acknowledgement that they are part of something much larger than themselves. By honoring the rituals of their ancestors, the initiate strengthens their connection to the forces that have shaped the world. As the initiate steps into their daily rituals, they begin to see them not as tasks, but as opportunities to connect with the deepest layers of their being, opportunities to align with the forces of creation. Each ritual becomes an act of devotion, an offering to the universe, a reminder of the power that resides in the silence of their actions. The initiate understands that these rituals, though invisible to the outside world, form the very foundation of their reality. The energy they circulate through these quiet acts is the energy that will eventually manifest in the form of their desires. In the stillness of the room, the initiate is reminded of the truth of the invisible path of daily rituals, that creation is a quiet process, built through consistent, intentional steps. These steps may not be seen by the world, but they are the very thread that weaves the fabric of manifestation. The rituals, though small and often invisible, are the silent building blocks of the future. As the candle's flame flickers, casting long shadows against the walls, the initiate knows that every ritual performed, every quiet moment of focus, brings them one step closer to their true desires. The path is not always visible. It is not always clear. But in these quiet rituals, in the invisible steps they take each day, the initiate is creating a reality that will one day be revealed. The Silent Ones walked this path, and now the initiate walks it too, one quiet step at a time. Chapter 9. The Gilded Silence, the Hidden Wealth of the Silent Ones. The air is thick with quiet reverence, the room swallowed by the deep shadows cast by the flickering flame. The stillness here is both a sanctuary and a vast, silent expanse, a place where the unseen and the unheard converge in sacred unity. The air smells faintly of aged parchment and deep, untouched earth, a scent of things that have been left undisturbed for eternity. In the midst of this silence, the initiate is drawn closer to one of the most sacred and powerful of all teachings, the law of the gilded silence, the hidden wealth of the Silent Ones. It was observed by the silent ones that true wealth is not something that can be seen or measured in the terms of the material world. The world's conception of wealth, gold, silver, and the trappings of successes, but a fleeting illusion, a surface reflection of something far deeper. True wealth lies not in accumulation, but in the quiet, unseen forces that circulate beneath the surface of existence. Wealth, in its most profound form, is the energy you carry, the power you cultivate, and the mastery you hold over your own life. It is the gilded silence, the hidden treasure that grows in the dark, nourished by the unspoken, unacknowledged rituals of creation. The old texts describe this wealth not as something that is earned through loud pursuits or desperate striving. It is not something that can be achieved by seeking the approval of others or accumulating possessions. No, true wealth is cultivated in the silence, in the unseen realms of intention, action, and self-mastery. It is the quiet gold that lies buried deep within the earth of your own being, nourished by your thoughts, your intentions, and your belief in your own power. To understand the gilded silence is to understand that all the wealth you need already resides within you. It is the energy you channel, the desires you nurture, and the focus you direct toward your own growth. The silent ones understood this profound truth, that wealth is not a destination, but a state of being. It is the inner power that cannot be taken away, the quiet confidence that cannot be diminished, and the unshakable conviction that your desires will always manifest because you have already aligned with the forces of creation. The initiate must first let go of the worldly notion of wealth, the idea that money, possessions, and status are the ultimate measures of success. These things, while they may hold value in the material world, are only the surface of a much deeper current. True wealth lies not in what is seen, but in what is unseen, the energy you move, the power you cultivate, and the silent knowledge that the universe is abundant and will provide everything you need when you align with it. The gilded silence is the understanding that abundance is not something to be chased, but something that will be drawn to you when you live in harmony with the silent forces of creation. The silent ones lived in this understanding. They did not chase wealth, for they knew that wealth follows those who do not seek it. It is drawn to those who are aligned with their purpose, who act from a place of inner certainty, and who move through the world with quiet authority. They spoke of wealth as an energy, an invisible current that flows to those who create space for it, who give freely, without expectation, and who trust in the abundance of the universe. It was not by hoarding that wealth came to the silent ones, but by circulating it, by giving without expectation, by creating space for energy to flow freely through them. The world is full of those who hoard, who cling to their possessions and their power in an attempt to secure themselves. But the silent ones understood that hoarding energy, whether in the form of money, resources, or attention, only serves to drain it. Wealth, like energy, must circulate. It must flow freely, without attachment, to multiply and create more. In this circulation, the initiate's wealth grows quietly, steadily, and without the need for force or struggle. The gilded silence speaks of wealth not as a possession, but as a current. It is not about holding on to what you have, but about allowing the flow of energy to pass through you. The more freely it moves, the more it multiplies. Just as the river is not enriched by the stagnant waters that do not move, so too must the initiate allow the wealth they hold to circulate freely, knowing that by giving, they will receive in abundance. This law of silent wealth also involves a deeper understanding of what wealth truly represents. It is not the material things we acquire that define our wealth, but the power we hold over ourselves, the mastery we achieve over our desires, and the ability to create from the unseen. The silent ones knew that, by mastering their own energy, they could manifest anything. True wealth is the ability to create, to act in harmony with the forces of the universe, and to bring your desires into being without effort, without struggle. The initiate must learn to work with this current of energy, to align themselves with the flow of the universe, and to create from a place of balance and harmony. Wealth is not simply the result of hard work, it's the product of aligned intention. When you are in harmony with your true purpose, when your actions align with your desires, the universe responds. It brings to you everything you need, not through force or struggle, but through the gentle flow of the gilded silence. The Silent Ones spoke of this current as a silent force, a stream of energy that flows through all things. It is always present, always available, but it is only those who are attuned to it who can access it. The initiate must learn to tap into this invisible flow, to open themselves to the abundance that is available at every moment. The wealth of the Silent Ones was never about striving for more. It was about becoming a vessel for the flow of energy, allowing it to move through them and create everything they needed. To cultivate this silent wealth, the initiate must begin by shifting their relationship to money, possessions, and material success. They must stop seeing these things as the ultimate measure of their worth. Instead, they must focus on creating value, on giving freely of their energy, and on trusting that the universe will provide. The Gilded Silence teaches that wealth is not about what you take, but what you give. The more you give of your energy, your love, your attention, your creativity, the more the universe responds, sending back to you exactly what you need. The Silent Ones understood this law of circulation. They did not need to accumulate wealth, for they knew that wealth, when it flows freely, will always come back to you. It is the silent exchange of energy that creates abundance. When you give without expectation, when you act without seeking recognition, you open yourself to receive in ways you cannot anticipate. The Gilded Silence teaches that your true wealth lies not in what you hold, but in what you give. In the silence, the initiate comes to understand that they are the creator of their own wealth. The universe is abundant, and everything they need is available to them when they align with this current. The wealth of the Silent Ones is not the wealth of the world. It is the wealth of energy, of mastery, of creation. The initiate must learn to tap into this wealth, to circulate it, and to allow it to flow freely through them, knowing that in doing so, they will create more than they ever could have imagined. As the candle flickers once again, casting long shadows on the stone walls, the initiate understands the truth of the Gilded Silence. True wealth is not something you acquire. It is something you create. It is the silent, invisible flow of energy that circulates through you, the abundance that arises when you align with the forces of the universe. The initiate is now ready to step into this current, to trust in the flow of energy, and to allow the Gilded Silence to guide them to their true wealth and unseen power, a quiet mastery, and an unshakable abundance. In this silence, the initiate is free. They are not bound by the world's concept of wealth, for they have discovered the wealth of the soul, the hidden treasure that cannot be taken away. This wealth, born in silence, is eternal and unfathomable. And as the initiate moves forward, they understand that in the Gilded Silence, they hold the key to everything they need. Chapter 10. The Sacred Veil, Withholding Your Energy from the World. The flickering candle casts long, wavering shadows across the stone walls, their shapes twisting and stretching, as if reaching out for something just beyond the veil. The air in the room is thick with the essence of quiet power, a palpable silence that presses against the initiate's chest, urging them to listen closely, to step into the space where all truth resides. The night outside is dark and silent, but inside, there is a different kind of darkness, a sacred space where creation takes form, not in the light, but in the shadow. It is here, in this darkness, that the initiate is called to understand one of the most sacred and mysterious of the hidden laws, the law of the sacred veil. The sacred veil is not merely a boundary, it is a force, a shield that protects the initiate from the world's prying eyes. It is the space in which energy is withheld, where intention is nurtured in silence, and where power is preserved for the moment of manifestation. The Silent Ones understood the importance of withholding energy from the world, of creating a barrier between themselves and the external forces that sought to drain, distract, or distort their purpose. The sacred veil is the guardian of this energy, a protector that ensures that the power of creation remains intact, undisturbed by the interference of the world. It was observed by the Silent Ones that the moment a desire is spoken, it begins to lose its power. The words you speak, the thoughts you share, are all forms of energy that can be dissipated into the world and spread thin, scattered in every direction. To speak of your desires is to expose them to the world, to invite external forces to weigh in on them, to invite the opinions, judgments, and expectations of others. The moment you announce your intentions, your desires are no longer yours alone. They are subject to the energy of the world around them. The law of the sacred veil teaches that withholding your energy is not an act of secrecy, but an act of preservation. Just as the seed is planted in the dark soil, where it is protected and nourished, so too must your desires be kept in the darkness until they are strong enough to manifest in the light. This is not a space for hesitation, but for growth. In the shadow of the sacred veil, the seed of creation is protected, nourished, and allowed to grow without being disturbed by the world's noise. The initiate must understand that the sacred veil is not about hiding from the world. It is about safeguarding the essence of their desires, protecting the purity of their intentions. When a desire is born, it is like a flame, delicate and vulnerable. If it is exposed too soon, it may be extinguished by the winds of doubt, criticism, or external distraction. The sacred veil acts as a shield, keeping the flame of your intention safe until it is strong enough to be revealed to the world. The ancient ones spoke of the sacred veil as a space of quietude, a place where the initiate can retreat into the depths of their own being. It is here that they can cultivate their intentions, strengthen their desires, and align their energy with the forces of creation. The world is full of distractions, shiny objects that call for your attention, voices that demand to be heard. But the initiate knows that the most powerful energy is the one that remains unseen, the one that flows beneath the surface, protected from the world's interference. To practice the sacred veil is to withdraw, to create a boundary between yourself and the world. It is to protect your desires, your energy, and your intentions from the forces that would seek to dilute or corrupt them. This is not an act of isolation. It is an act of preservation. The sacred veil creates a space in which the initiate can align their energy with the universe, where their intentions can grow in purity, without being tainted by external forces. The silent ones did not share their dreams with the world. They understood that the moment you expose your desires, you risk losing their energy to the world. When you speak of your desires, you invite others to project their own energy onto them, in the form of support or criticism. The sacred veil keeps your desires intact, protecting them from the opinions, judgments, and influences of others. It allows you to focus your energy inward, without distraction, so that you can align with the forces of creation. The sacred veil also teaches the initiate the art of discernment. Not everything deserves your energy. The world is filled with noise, with external influences that seek to pull your attention in countless directions. The initiate must learn to withhold their energy from these distractions, to protect their focus and their intention. By drawing the sacred veil around themselves, the initiate learns to recognize what is worthy of their attention and what is not. They learn to protect their energy, to conserve it for the things that truly matter, and to release it from the distractions that threaten to scatter it. In this way, the sacred veil becomes a tool of empowerment. It allows the initiate to conserve their energy, to direct it toward their true desires, and to manifest those desires without interference. It is not a passive act, but an active process, one that requires constant awareness and discernment. The initiate must be vigilant, keeping their desires hidden in the darkness until they are ready to be revealed. This is the art of quiet manifestation, the art of creation without announcement, without fanfare. The ancient ones also spoke of the sacred veil as a space of mystery, a place where the initiate can retreat to cultivate their deepest desires in solitude. In the world of noise and distraction, it can be difficult to hear the quiet voice of your true desires, but within the sacred veil, there is no noise, no distraction. It is a space where you can listen deeply to your own soul, where you can hear the whispers of your true calling. This is the space where creation begins, not in the outer world, but in the silence of your own being. To practice the sacred veil is to learn the art of quiet creation. It is to withdraw from the world long enough to align with your deepest desires, to cultivate them in the silence of your own soul, and to nurture them until they are ready to manifest. The sacred veil is not about hiding in fear or shame. It is about withholding your energy with purpose, with intention, and with the understanding that your desires are sacred. They deserve to be nurtured in silence, without interference, until they are ready to come into the world. The initiate must learn to trust in the process of creation. The world will tell you to act quickly, to reveal your desires to everyone, to push forward with force. But the silent ones knew that true creation is slow and steady. It is in the sacred veil that the seed of creation takes root, that the intention is aligned with the universe, and that the energy is nurtured and protected. The initiate must trust that this process, though invisible to the outside world, is the true path to manifestation. The world will never see the work done in the silence. It will never understand the power of the sacred veil, the strength that comes from withholding energy and nurturing desires in secret. But the initiate understands that it is in the silence that the greatest power is forged. It is in the quiet moments of reflection, of intention, and of stillness that the most profound creations come into being. The candle flickers one last time, its light fading into the shadows, leaving the room in perfect stillness. The silence in the air is thick, full of unspoken truth, and in this silence, the initiate knows that the sacred veil has protected their desires, has nurtured them in the dark until they are ready to be revealed. They understand now that creation is not about forcing or rushing, it is about nurturing in silence, withholding energy from the world until the time is right. In the stillness, the initiate stands in the sacred veil, knowing that their power is undisturbed, their energy preserved, and their desires ready to unfold in perfect alignment with the universe. The sacred veil is not a shield from the world. It is a space where their true power is born, where creation is nurtured, and where they will one day step into the light, fully formed and ready to manifest their desires. Chapter 11. The Obsidian Mirror. Reflection without projection. The air is heavier now, thick with the gravity of a deeper understanding, an ancient secret that is being slowly unveiled in the flickering silence of the room. The flame dances faintly, its light casting long shadows on the walls, as if hesitating to reveal the truth just beyond its reach. The room holds its breath in anticipation, and the initiate, still, listens closely to the soft echo of something primal stirring deep within. In the shadows, a mirror waits, its surface black and smooth, untouched by time, reflecting nothing but the emptiness that surrounds it. It is before this mirror that the initiate must stand, to gaze into it, to seek the truth that lies not in the external world, but in the depths of their own soul. This is the obsidian mirror, a tool of reflection that holds no illusion, no distortion, and no external influence. It reveals only what is true, what is hidden beneath the surface, unclouded by the projections of the mind or the distractions of the world. The mirror itself holds no answers, for its purpose is not to answer questions, but to show the initiate the clarity of their own reflection, the reflection that they have avoided, the reflection that holds the key to their transformation. The obsidian mirror does not reflect the world as it is seen by the eyes. It does not reflect the social masks, the public personas, or the constructed identities that the initiate wears. No, the obsidian mirror reflects the soul's, the raw, unfiltered truth of the self. When the initiate gazes into the mirror, they do not see what they wish to see. They see only what is, stripped of illusion. In the stillness of the room, in the quiet presence of this dark mirror, the initiate is called to confront the truth of their own being. The silent ones understood the power of the obsidian mirror. It is not just a reflection of the outer self, but a mirror to the inner world. It does not show you the face you present to others, but the face you hide from yourself, the face that reveals your deepest fears, desires, and truths. To look into the obsidian mirror is to witness the raw, unpolished reflection of your soul. To see yourself without the distortion of ego or the projection of others' expectations. It was observed by the silent ones that many fear this reflection, for it shows them the parts of themselves they have long tried to bury. The obsidian mirror does not offer comfort or easy answers, it offers only clarity. And clarity, for many, is unsettling. To look into this mirror is to see beyond the veil of illusion, to look past the comfortable stories we tell ourselves, and to confront the truth that lies beneath the surface. The silent ones knew that true transformation begins when the initiate dares to look into the obsidian mirror and accept what they see, without resistance or judgment. To reflect without projection is to look into the mirror and see yourself as you truly are, without the influence of external opinions. societal expectations, or the filters of self-delusion. The obsidian mirror asks the initiate to examine their motives, their desires, and their fears, not through the lens of the world, but through the lens of their own soul. It is a call to stop projecting onto the world and others the shadows of our own unconscious fears and desires. The obsidian mirror shows you where your projections lie, where you are creating stories and identities that are not true, and where you are hiding from the truth of your own being. The silent ones taught that reflection is not about understanding yourself in terms of the world did. It's about understanding yourself in terms of your own soul. The world projects its values, its judgments, and its desires onto you, but the obsidian mirror invites you to turn inward, to look at yourself, not in comparison to others, but in comparison to your deepest, truest self, to see who you truly are, without the layers of self-judgment, without the ego's need for validation. Only in this space of honest reflection can true transformation take place. The obsidian mirror shows you who you are beneath the surface, the quiet power, the hidden strengths, the unconscious fears, and the unacknowledged desires. To look into it is to recognize the darkness within, to accept the parts of yourself you have long rejected or ignored. It is not enough to simply admire the light of the soul. One must also be willing to face the shadows. Only in this balance, in the union of light and dark, can true wholeness be achieved. The initiate must learn to use the obsidian mirror as a tool for self-examination, but not as a means of judgment. To project onto the world your judgments, your fears, your insecurities, is to give away your power. To project onto others your own desires for control, acceptance, or validation, is to relinquish your sovereignty. The obsidian mirror invites you to stop projecting onto others what you refuse to accept in yourself, to stop using the world as a mirror for your own unexamined truths. To truly understand the obsidian mirror is to understand that it is not an external force, but an internal one. It is not about seeking truth from the world, but seeking truth from within. The silent ones did not look to the world for their answers. They looked inward, knowing that the world is merely a reflection of their own internal landscape. The obsidian mirror reveals the inner landscape, those parts of yourself that you hide, deny, or avoid. It was taught by the silent ones that the truth revealed in the obsidian mirror is a path to liberation. To face the truth of who you are, to stop hiding from the darkness within, is the first step toward freedom. The mirror does not lie, but it asks you to accept the reflection it shows you, and from that acceptance, to transform. The power of this mirror lies not in the reflection, but in the way it compels the initiate to respond to what is shown. To transform is to accept the shadow, to stop fighting the darkness, and to allow it to become a part of the whole. In doing so, the initiate finds true balance and wholeness. The obsidian mirror also teaches the art of detachment. When the initiate gazes into the mirror, they are called to reflect without attachment, to see themselves, not as they wish to be seen, but as they truly are. This requires a level of honesty and objectivity that many are unwilling to face. It requires detachment from the ego's need to control the story, to shape the reflection into something more acceptable, more comfortable. The initiate must learn to see themselves without the need for external validation, without the desire to project a certain image onto the world. The silent ones were able to wield the power of the obsidian mirror because they had learned to detach from the need for external recognition. They did not seek validation from others, for they knew that true validation comes from within. To look into the mirror and see oneself clearly, without the layers of ego and projection, is to find true sovereignty. The obsidian mirror is a tool of self-empowerment, for it asks the initiate to acknowledge their own power and take responsibility for the world they create, not by projecting onto others, but by reflecting inward and transforming from within. The candle flickers once more before it burns low, its light dimming, the room now heavy with the stillness of the unseen. The obsidian mirror, though it reflects nothing now, holds the power to reveal the deepest truths. It is in the silence, in the acceptance of the self, that the initiate finds their true power, not in the projection of the world, but in the reflection of the soul. In the obsidian mirror, the initiate sees not only who they are, but who they have the potential to become, and in that reflection, they are free. Chapter 12. The Darkened Garden, Cultivating Without Claiming. The air is thick with the perfume of earth and mystery, the weight of untold truths pressing in from every side. The shadows in the room grow deeper, stretching with a life of their own, as though they seek to engulf the initiate in their quiet, unspoken embrace. The candle flickers faintly, casting brief flashes of light against the stone walls, illuminating the edges of what might be just beyond the reach of vision in the darkness. The silence here is more than just an absence of sound. It is a presence, an invitation to listen, to understand the sacred truth that waits in the stillness. In this silent space, the initiate is called to understand the law of the darkened garden, the hidden space where desires grow in the silence of non-attachment. This is a space where creation occurs, not through force, but through nurturing, through careful cultivation, without the need to claim ownership. It is a space where the seed of intention is planted and cared for, but never forced, never rushed, and never claimed too soon. It is a place where growth is silent, where power is born, not in the visibility of action, but in the quiet patience of the process. The darkened garden is a metaphor for the hidden place of creation, the internal space where desires and intentions are quietly cultivated, far from the watchful eyes of the world. It is a space that the world cannot see, where the raw energy of creation is allowed to grow, unhindered by the noise and distractions of the outside world. In the darkened garden, there is no need to prove anything to anyone. There is no rush to reveal the work of your hands. It is a sacred space of inward growth, where the initiate learns the art of cultivating their desires in silence, without the need for recognition or validation. It was observed by the silent ones that the greatest power lies not in what is revealed to the world, but in what remains hidden. Just as the roots of a tree grow deep in the earth, unseen and undisturbed by the winds above, so too must the initiate's desires be nurtured in the silence, away from the gaze of others. The world does not need to know of your plans for them to come to fruition. The darkened garden is where intentions take root in the deep soil of the soul, where they grow and strengthen without being seen, without being hastened by external forces. The darkened garden teaches the initiate the power of patience and non-attachment. In the world, there is an impulse to claim what is yours before it has fully manifested. The ego desires recognition, the validation of others, the reward of labor seen and acknowledged. But the silent ones knew that true creation does not occur in the world's timeline. It occurs in the quiet spaces, in the unseen moments, where the energy of intention is allowed to grow without the pressure of external expectations. To cultivate without claiming is to work with the forces of the universe and the knowledge that what is meant for you will come to you in its own time, without need for force or impatience. The darkened garden requires the initiate to release control, to stop grasping for the outcome before it has fully ripened. It is an act of surrender, an act of trust, and an act of deep respect for the natural process of creation. The silent ones practiced this art of non-attachment. They did not push their desires into the world with force. They allowed them to grow in their own time, knowing that the energy of their intentions was already set in motion. When you claim your desires too early, you risk distorting the process, forcing things to happen before they are ready. The darkened garden teaches the wisdom of patience, the wisdom of allowing things to grow in the quiet spaces, where the process of creation is free from the pressure of time and expectation. The initiate must understand that their role is not to rush the process, but to tend to it with care, with intention, and with respect. The darkened garden is where the initiate learns to give without demanding, to create without claiming ownership. The act of creation is sacred. It is not about what you can take from the world, but about what you can give to it in the form of your silent labor. The greatest works are not the loudest, they are the quietest, the ones that grow unseen until the time comes for them to be revealed. The silent ones understood that true power comes from the energy that is cultivated in the hidden spaces, far from the scrutiny of others. They did not seek applause for their efforts, nor did they seek to claim the fruits of their labor before they had fully ripened. The darkened garden requires the initiate to detach from the ego's desire for recognition and to focus instead on the process of creation itself. When you cultivate with the intention of receiving recognition, you are no longer in alignment with the natural forces of manifestation. You are seeking to control the outcome before it has fully unfolded. True creation comes when you allow things to grow in their own time, without rushing or forcing the process. The darkened garden also teaches the initiate the importance of silence. Just as a gardener does not announce every seed they plant, the initiate must learn to nurture their desires quietly, away from the distractions of the world. The act of planting a seed in the earth is a private one. The gardener knows that the seed must be given time to grow, that it must be nurtured in silence and darkness before it can be revealed to the world. Similarly, the initiate must learn to protect their desires, to nurture them in the unseen spaces, and to allow them to grow without the interference of the world's opinions or judgments. The darkened garden is where the energy of creation is allowed to gather strength in the silence. The process of growth is not always visible. It takes time, it requires patience, and it requires the initiate to trust that what is meant for them will come to fruition when the time is right. The world may rush, the world may demand immediate results, but the initiate understands that true creation follows its own natural rhythm. It cannot be forced, and it cannot be rushed. The world may try to pull you out of the garden, to expose your desires to the light before they are ready to bloom. But the silent ones knew that creation is not about quick results. It is about nurturing the energy of your intentions, allowing them to grow and ripen in their own time, without rushing the process. The darkened garden is where the initiate learns the power of non-attachment, that true creation does not need to be seen before it is ready. It is in the hidden spaces that the most profound growth takes place. The act of cultivating without claiming is also an act of deep respect for the forces of nature. The initiate must honor the process of creation, respecting the time it takes for the seed to sprout, the plant to grow, and the fruit to ripen. The darkened garden is where the initiate learns to work in harmony with the cycles of nature, trusting that the natural flow of life will bring their desires to fruition when the time is right. There is no need to rush, no need to claim what is not yet yours. In the darkened garden, you allow your desires to grow in silence, in patience, and in harmony with the universe. As the candle flickers once more, and the shadows stretch long, the initiate understands the truth of the darkened garden. Creation is not a race, it is a process. It is not about claiming ownership before the time has come. It is about cultivating in silence, in patience, and in non-attachment. It is about trusting that the seed you plant will grow when it is ready, and that the fruit of your labor will come in its own time. In the darkened garden, the initiate learns that true power lies not in forcing the world to conform to your desires, but in nurturing your desires with patience, care, and respect for the natural process of creation. The room is still, the candle's flame burning low, and the initiate knows now that they are ready to step into this sacred space of creation. The darkened garden awaits silent, patient, and full of potential. And in this space, their desires will grow, unhurried, undisturbed, and ready to be revealed to the world when the time is right. Chapter 13. The Hidden Flame, a Spark in the Darkness. The room is cold, the air heavy with the weight of secrets and the anticipation of what lies ahead. The shadows seem to creep closer, drawn to the flickering candle in the center of the room. Its light, though faint, holds steady in the silence, casting an ethereal glow across the stone walls. There is a feeling in the air, an electric hum, a barely perceptible presence, that something is awakening. Something long buried, now ready to rise. The initiate stands at the threshold of this truth, poised between what has been and what is yet to come. It is in this sacred space that the initiate is called to discover the nature of the hidden flame, the quiet fire that burns deep within, unseen by the world, but steadfast in its potential. It is a flame that is not nurtured by the ego's desire for recognition or the world's distractions, but by the stillness of the soul, the deepest part of the self that knows its purpose and its power. The hidden flame is the spark of creation that resides within each person, waiting for the right moment to be ignited, to be fanned into something that will light the world, but only when it is ready. The hidden flame is not a flame that seeks attention. It does not burn brightly to be seen by others, nor does it flicker and die when the world ignores it. It is a flame that burns quietly, steadily, in the darkness, waiting to be noticed, not by the world, but by the self. The silent ones understood this truth deeply. They knew that the truest power comes not from seeking recognition, but from quietly allowing the spark of your own inner fire to grow, unhindered by external demands or expectations. It was observed by the silent ones that the world often ignores the quiet flame, the subtle power that is not flashy or dramatic. The world worships the blaze, the fire that can be seen and felt, but the true power lies in the quiet burn of the hidden flame. This is the flame that, though it may seem small, is indestructible. It is the force that rises from within, fueled not by the external forces of approval or success, but by an unwavering belief in your own potential, an inner knowing that what you seek is already yours. The hidden flame is the spark of desire that begins deep within the soul. It is the raw, untapped energy of creation, waiting to be given form, waiting for the moment when it will ignite and become something more. It is the fire that burns in the dark, the force that creates without needing to be seen. The silent ones understood that it is not the blaze of external success that matters, but the quiet flame that burns in the heart, the energy that sustains you in the face of all obstacles, that allows you to keep moving forward when the world doubts you, when the world does not see the value in what you are creating. To understand the hidden flame is to understand that your power does not come from others. It comes from the quiet, unseen energy that you carry within you. The world may overlook it, may not recognize it for what it is, but that does not matter. The hidden flame is not there to be acknowledged. It is there to be nurtured, to be protected, and to grow in its own time. It is the fire of creation, burning silently, always present, always waiting for the right moment to be revealed. The hidden flame requires patience, for it does not blaze to attract attention. It grows slowly, quietly, and steadily, fueled by your own inner belief and desire. The silent ones spoke of this flame as something sacred, something to be nurtured in the silence, away from the prying eyes of the world. They understood that the world is quick to dismiss what it does not understand, to overlook what it cannot see. But true power is never visible to the naked eye. It is felt in the quiet moments, in the spaces between thoughts, in the stillness of the soul. The initiate must learn to recognize this hidden flame within themselves, to understand that it is not something that requires external validation. It is not something that needs to be displayed or shouted about. It simply is. It burns, quietly, steadily, and in its own time. It will illuminate the path forward. The world will not see it until it is ready, but that does not matter. The hidden flame is not for the world. It is for the self, for the soul that understands the quiet power of creation. The ancient ones spoke of the hidden flame as a source of quiet resilience. The world may seek to extinguish your flame, to dampen your spirit, but the true fire of creation cannot be extinguished. It may be hidden in the dark for a time, but it will always burn. The hidden flame is not dependent on the world's approval, the world's recognition, or the world's validation. It is fed by your own belief in your purpose, your own unwavering certainty that you are meant to create, to manifest, and to shape the world with the quiet power that resides within you. The hidden flame does not seek to burn bright in order to prove something. It simply burns because it is its nature to do so. The initiate must learn to protect this flame, to shield it from the distractions of the world. It is not the loudest, most visible flame that creates lasting change. It's the one that burns in silence, unwavering, steady, and true to its purpose. The hidden flame is the source of all creation, the spark of life that moves through everything. But it is only when the initiate learns to tend it in the dark that its full power is realized. The hidden flame also requires the initiate to let go of attachment. The world may never see it, may never acknowledge it, and that is of no consequence. The hidden flame does not burn to be seen. It burns because it is part of the essence of creation itself. The initiate must learn to act from the inner knowing that their desires will manifest in time, but they do not need to rush or force them. The hidden flame is not about instant gratification. It is about trusting in the process, knowing that the time will come when it will be revealed, when it will blaze forth into the world, transforming all that it touches. The silent ones understood the importance of tending to the hidden flame with patience. They knew that it was not a fire that would burn brightly and quickly. It was a slow, steady burn that would, in time, light the way forward. It is only when the initiate learns to nurture this flame in the dark, to tend it with unwavering belief, that it will grow and spread, casting light on the path ahead. The hidden flame also represents the quiet, internal power that the initiate must learn to trust. It is not the loudest, most dramatic act of creation that matters. It is the steady, unyielding belief that what is desired is already on its way. The world may not see the hidden flame at first, but it will feel its warmth. It will see the results of its quiet, persistent burn in the work you do, in the path you walk, and in the transformation that unfolds around you. The candle flickers, casting a brief shadow across the room, and then, just as quickly, it burns steady again, its light unwavering in the quiet stillness. The initiate stands before the hidden flame, knowing that it is not something that requires attention, recognition, or validation. It is simply there, burning silently, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. And in that moment, it will light the world, not through force or effort, but through its quiet, unshakable presence. In the silence, the hidden flame burns steady. The initiate understands that it is not the external world that gives power. It is the internal flame, the quiet spark that exists within, that provides the energy for creation. The hidden flame is the heart of all that is, and in the quiet patience of its burn, the initiate is guided toward their highest manifestation. The room is still, the shadows stretching long across the walls, and the initiate understands that their power lies not in the brightness of the flame, but in the quiet, steady burn of the hidden flame, a spark that will never be extinguished, a fire that will illuminate their path, not in haste, but in perfect timing. Chapter 14. The Eternal Night, the Mastery of Darkness. The room is colder now, the air thick with the unspoken weight of ancient knowledge, the flickering flame casting erratic shadows that seem to stretch like restless fingers, clawing at the edges of the space. The silence here is thick, palpable, as though time itself has paused to witness the truth unfolding in the stillness. Outside, the world sleeps, its energy hidden beneath the weight of the night, as if the darkness holds all secrets, all mysteries, and all power within its deep, unyielding embrace. In this quiet, the initiate is called to understand the most elusive and transformative of all laws, the mastery of darkness, the eternal force that lies hidden in the night. The eternal night is not an absence of light, but a presence, a force that holds the key to true power. Darkness, in this sense, is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is not the enemy of light, but its partner. For without the night, there would be no dawn. The silent ones understood this principle, that the night holds the seed of creation, that in the depths of darkness lies the power to shape the world. It is in the night, away from the distractions of the world, that the most profound transformations take place, and it is in the mastery of darkness that the initiate learns to shape their reality, without force, without effort, but with the quiet power of the unseen forces that govern all. The eternal night is where true creation begins. It is in the quiet of the night, in the depths of the darkness, that the seed of intention is planted and nurtured, away from the prying eyes of the world. The world is quick to seek the light, to strive for visibility, to force the manifestation of desires before the time is right. But the silent ones knew that the most powerful work is done in the dark, in the unseen places where creation takes root and grows in silence. The eternal night is not a void, but a womb, a sacred space where all things are born. And it is in this space that the initiate must learn to operate, not by rushing toward the light, but by patiently tending to the seed in the dark until it is ready to emerge. The mastery of darkness is about accepting that the night is a time of potential, not a time of absence. The initiate must learn to see the darkness not as a hindrance, but as the fertile soil where all desires take root. The world may seek the light, but the silent ones understood that the darkness is where true power lies. It is in the unseen realms that the most profound changes occur, and it is in the dark that the initiate must learn to shape their will. Just as the earth does not rush the growth of a seed, so too must the initiate learn to allow their desires to grow in their own time, nurtured by the quiet energy of the eternal night. It was observed by the silent ones that the greatest power comes from the ability to navigate the darkness without fear. The world tells you to fear the unknown, to shy away from the shadow, but the initiate knows that darkness is not to be feared. It is to be embraced, understood, and mastered. For in the darkness, there is nothing to obstruct the flow of energy, no external influences to dilute your intentions. The mastery of darkness is the understanding that it is in the unknown, in the unseen, that the greatest opportunities for creation lie. The initiate must learn to walk in the eternal night without hesitation, to move through the darkness with grace and confidence, knowing that in this space lies the raw energy of creation. The silent ones did not shy away from the night. They understood that the true power of the soul is only realized when it is forged in the depths of darkness. The world may seek the light, but the initiate knows that it is in the shadows that they will find their strength. The darkness is not their enemy. It is their ally. The mastery of darkness is not about resisting the shadow, but about learning to move with it, to shape it, and to use it to create what is needed. The eternal night is also where the initiate must confront their deepest fears. It is in the darkness that the shadow self resides, the parts of the soul that have been ignored, suppressed, or rejected. The mastery of darkness requires the initiate to step into this darkness, to face the parts of themselves that they have long avoided, and to transform them into sources of power. The silent ones knew that the darkness was not to be feared, but to be faced. Only by embracing the shadow can the initiate move beyond it, integrating the darkness into their being and using it as a force for creation. To embrace the eternal night is to recognize that the light cannot exist without the dark. The two are inseparable, each giving rise to the other. The silent ones did not fear their own shadows because they understood that within the shadow lies the source of their power. The initiate must learn to see their own darkness not as a weakness, but as an opportunity for growth, transformation, and empowerment. Only by embracing both the light and the dark can the initiate become whole. The mastery of darkness also involves the ability to withdraw from the world and find strength in solitude. The world is loud, filled with distractions and the constant need for validation. But the silent ones knew that true power comes from the ability to retreat into the quiet spaces of the soul, to find clarity in the darkness, away from the noise of the world. The eternal night is not just a time for external creation. It is a time for internal work, for the initiate to align their energy with their deepest desires, to cultivate their will in the silence of solitude. In this darkness, the initiate finds the strength to move forward with purpose and intention. The mastery of darkness is not about fighting against the world, but about retreating into the inner sanctum of your own soul. It is in this space that true strength is born, not from external validation or approval, but from the quiet recognition that you are enough. The eternal night is the time when the initiate must go inward, to recharge, to reconnect with their purpose, and to refine their desires. It is in this darkness that they find their most profound insights. And it is here that they are prepared to step back into the light when the time is right. In the stillness of the room, the initiate understands the truth of the mastery of darkness. That darkness is not something to be avoided, but something to be embraced. The eternal night is the space where the soul can grow, where desires can take root, and where creation can unfold without interference from the world. The silent ones understood this principle deeply. They knew that it is in the night, in the quiet, in the unseen spaces, that the most powerful changes occur, and the initiate must learn to navigate this space with grace, with patience, and with the confidence that their desires will manifest in perfect alignment with the forces of the universe. The candle flickers one last time, casting a long shadow across the walls. The room is still, the air thick with the unspoken wisdom of the eternal night. The initiate, now standing at the threshold of this truth, understands that in the darkness, there is no need to rush, there is no need to force. The night holds everything in its embrace: creativity, transformation, and the very energy that sustains the soul. The initiate must learn to move through the eternal night without fear, knowing that in this darkness lies the power to create and to manifest, not in the world's timeline, but in their own. And when the time is right, when the energy has been cultivated and the seed has been nourished in the dark, the light will emerge stronger, brighter, and more powerful than ever before. In this silence, the initiate knows The mastery of darkness is not the end, but the beginning of all creation. Chapter 15. The final ceremony, the alchemical transmutation of the self. The air is still, heavy with the weight of a profound silence that fills the room, as though the very walls are holding their breath. The candle, now little more than a flickering ember, casts a delicate glow across the space, its light trembling as it flickers in the cool, stagnant air. Shadows stretch and contract, silently taking their place in the corner, as the initiate stands, poised for the final step. The room, though it may seem small, now holds within it the vastness of an entire universe of truth, of potential, and of the eternal cycle of creation. This is the moment of transmutation, the moment when the initiate must face the final rite of passage, the moment when the soul's deepest transformation takes place. It is here, in the quiet sanctum of silence, that the initiate will undergo the final ceremony, the alchemical transmutation of the self. This is not a ceremony marked by external displays or grand rituals. It is a personal, sacred, moment-to-moment, of inner metamorphosis, where the initiate sheds their old self and steps into their new, transformed being. The final ceremony is the culmination of all that has come before the darkened gardens, the hidden flames, the mastery of the unseen forces, and it is in this moment that the initiate is truly reborn. The alchemical transmutation of the self is not an act of force. It is not about pushing or striving for change. It is the quiet, patient unfolding of the soul, the subtle shift in consciousness that occurs when one is aligned with their true purpose. The initiate, standing at the edge of this sacred space, is called to let go of all the fears, doubts, and attachments that have kept them bound to their former self. It is a shedding of the old, a release of the past, and a welcoming of the future that lies ahead. This transmutation is not external. It is internal, a deep and lasting shift in the essence of the self. The ancient ones spoke of this moment, the moment when the initiate, having journeyed through darkness, through silence, and through the deepest parts of their soul, arrives at the threshold of self-mastery. The final ceremony is the last step before the full embodiment of the self, where the initiate becomes whole, no longer divided between shadow and light, but fully integrated, balanced, and aligned with the forces of creation. In this moment, there is no separation between the internal and the external. All things merge into one. The final ceremony is the moment of union, the merging of opposites, the reconciliation of light and dark, of form and formlessness. It is the completion of the alchemical process, where the raw materials of the soul, your desires, your fears, your power, your weakness, are transmuted into pure gold. The silent ones understood that the deepest transformation does not come through force, but through surrendering to the process of change, surrendering to the flow of the universe, and allowing oneself to be shaped by it. This moment of transmutation is not for the faint of heart. It requires the initiate to face their deepest fears, to confront the parts of themselves they have long kept hidden, and to surrender them to the alchemical fires. But this surrender is not a passive act. It is an active participation in the process of becoming, an acknowledgement that the self, in its truest form, is not a static entity but a living, breathing force that is ever evolving. The final ceremony is the initiation into this ongoing process of transformation. To be transformed is not to become something else, but to fully recognize who you already are, the divine, untapped potential that lies within. The alchemical transmutation of the self is the realization that the external world is a reflection of your internal state. When you align with your true nature, when you allow yourself to step into the fullness of your power, the world around you changes. The energy you emit becomes a force that shapes your reality. In this sacred moment, the initiate must embrace their own sovereignty. The final ceremony is not just the conclusion of a journey, it is the beginning of a new phase of creation. The initiate must understand that they are the creators of their own reality, that their thoughts, actions, and intentions are the tools with which they shape the world. The final ceremony is the act of claiming this power, of stepping into it with confidence and clarity, knowing that they are no longer bound by the limitations of the past. The final ceremony also requires a deep understanding of non-attachment. The initiate must let go of their old identity, their past wounds, their attachments to outcomes. To transmute the self is to release the need to control, to release the desire to hold on to the past, and to allow the new self to emerge in its own time. The Silent Ones knew that true freedom comes not through grasping, but through letting go. The final ceremony is the final act of surrender, the final release of all that no longer serves the soul. The alchemical transmutation of the self is also a call to embrace your inner wholeness. The initiate must understand that they are not incomplete, that there is no need to search for fulfillment outside of themselves. The Silent Ones understood that the universe is already within them, that the answers to all questions, the power to create and manifest, the wisdom to navigate the world, are all contained within the soul. The final ceremony is the realization of this truth, the moment when the initiate sees themselves as they truly are, whole, complete, and aligned with the forces of creation. To achieve this state of wholeness is to embody the quiet strength of the soul, to act from a place of inner knowing, and to trust in the process of transformation. The Silent Ones did not act from a place of ego or force. They acted from a place of deep inner peace and balance. The final ceremony is not about seeking power or fame. It is about embodying your true self and living in alignment with your purpose. When you are aligned with your purpose, when you are grounded in your truth, everything you desire flows to you effortlessly. The final ceremony is a ceremony of integration, of bringing together the fragments of the self and weaving them into a cohesive whole. The initiate, having traversed the darkness and the shadows, now stands at the threshold of their own mastery. The alchemical transmutation of the self is the process of becoming who you were always meant to be, of stepping into your full potential, embracing your inner power, and manifesting your desires with grace and ease. The initiate must understand that this transformation is not an event, but a process. The final ceremony marks the completion of a cycle, but it is also the beginning of a new one. The work does not end here. The Silent Ones knew that true mastery is a continual process of self-discovery, self-mastery, and creation. The final ceremony is the acknowledgement that you are always in a state of becoming, always evolving, and always creating. As the candle burns lower, its light now barely a flicker, the room is filled with the stillness of a sacred moment. The final ceremony is not about the external recognition of success, it is about the internal realization that you are aligned with your true self, that you are walking in harmony with the forces of creation. The initiate now understands that the alchemical transmutation of the self is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. In this final moment, the initiate is reborn, ready to step into the world with the quiet power of the Silent Ones, knowing that they are the creators of their own reality, and that all they desire is already within their reach. The final ceremony is the moment of completion, but also the beginning of a new cycle of creation, where the initiate moves forward with a deep understanding of their true power, ready to manifest their desires in perfect alignment with their highest purpose. The room is still, the candle's flame now gone, but the truth of the moment remains. The initiate has completed their transformation, and the world is ready to be shaped by their quiet, unshakable power.